Welcome to Ramadan in Focus. I'm Yusuf Estes. We like to clarify a lot of the misconceptions that people have about the fasting in Ramadan as opposed to fasting in other societies, cultures, and religions. And one of the things that I remember before coming to Islam was experimenting with fasting. I had no clue about Islam or Muslims or what they do. But I did have an idea about what fasting is, what it's about, why people ought to do it. I recall back when I was about 17 years old, I came down with a sickness. And that sickness was related to a tremendous amount of buildup in my tonsils of poison, a lot of poison in the tonsils. And they were telling me that it could actually kill you to have that much poison, and they had to take them out. I became very weak and lost a tremendous amount of weight, and I couldn't eat at all because I couldn't swallow. For the tonsils were so big, and I became very dehydrated and in bad shape. And when they took me to the hospital, somewhere along the line I acquired a book to read about fasting. And in this book I learned that a doctor by the name of Earhart had discovered that fasting cured a lot of diseases. This book went into great detail about it, so I began thinking about the importance of it. After I had the tonsils removed and was back on my feet again, I decided, let me learn more about this kind of fasting. And so I experimented with it for the next couple of years, actually. And just to give you a little brief idea about it, one of the things was to stay away from certain kinds of foods all the time. For instance, leaving off all red meat. That's one kind of fasting. Leaving off all meat altogether, anything that has life. For instance, it wouldn't necessarily just be an animal. It could be a reptile. It could be fish. It could be anything that has a life. Then you will only, abstain from that and only eat other things, such as fruits and vegetables. Well, there's another kind of fasting I found, that people who eat only certain kinds of vegetables and fruits. And then there are those who will stay away from anything that's grown, such as grains like wheat, rice, barley, and so on. So the one that's doing this, he's staying with only fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. Then those who will not cook any of their food, they'll only eat it raw. And those were called raw fooders. And vegans, the ones who eat only vegetables and fruits. They give themselves names over the different decades. But back in the 1950s, this was still pretty new to the American public anyway, and I was really just learning about it. So I experimented with these things. And I came to meet other people who also had these ideas about different kinds of fasting. One of the fasts is called a water fast. The only thing you can have is water. Now that gets kind of touchy, because if you imagine you're not going to eat anything at all, you're just going to drink water. And you could have all the water you wanted, but after a day or two, and I'm talking about constant, not breaking your fast at night, no, just continue fasting. There was a 1-day fast, a 2-day fast, a 3-day fast. And I remember in those days they were talking about the wife of the premier of China, that she had fasted so much. And then they said that she broke her fast with potatoes, cooked potatoes, and it almost killed her. Now, I don't know that anybody should go to these kinds of extremes to experiment when you could find out real easy what the results are. I always recommend that if somebody's not familiar with these things, check it out with a doctor, because if you're going to get away from a natural diet that you have, or what's called for you normal, and you want to change that, it's a good idea to speak with a physician, somebody who has some kind of background in this, because you could hurt yourself. And it was the case that I observed with a couple of people. One is going on this water fast, because the water fasting, you don't get anything at all. There's no nourishment. All you're getting is liquid water. That's it. So unless there's a lot of minerals or calcium or something in that water, you're not going to get anything, any nutrients. And after a couple of days of that, you'll find you'll be very weak. You'll have start, even in the first day, the person could begin imagining things. and having dreams even when they're half awake. So you want to be careful about that. But to come back to how different people view Islam, if they're coming from these backgrounds and they said, oh, you guys are fasting, if they're relating it to what they know about fasting, they might think, as some people do, that we fast the entire month of Ramadan. Now, because that's what we say. We fast the entire month of Ramadan, but we really don't. We actually only fast during the daytime. So there are a little bit more hours, a few more minutes really, in the day than there is in the night. Usually in the summer for sure, you have a lot more hours. But still in the darkness, in the nighttime, okay, that's when we're for sure going to eat, we're going to drink. Even if you don't feel like eating, you have to break your fast. You must not continue the fast 24 hours and go into the next day with it, because that is not what is considered proper fasting in Islam. This is not what Allah ordered. He very clearly told us that when you see the day approaching, and they use a term in Arabic which means when you can discern the white thread from the black thread, okay, that's when you begin your fasting. So that you want to drink and eat everything you're going to do before that period comes. So when that starts, you begin to see a teeny bit of daylight, okay? That's when you stop eating, stop drinking, and stop. Also, another thing that we stay away from, by the way, is your marital relationship, your having sex. That's a part of fasting in Islam. There are other things too, like don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat, but you're not supposed to do that anyway. When you're fasting in Islam, you're particularly staying away from things to make you conscious of the Almighty God. Because, and I'm going to bring it into focus here, whether you're coming from a background of Jewish religion or the Catholic religion or from some other religions, the focus here, look at it from the Islamic point of view. Allah is telling us, O you who believe, it's been ordered for you to fast. And fasting in the month of Ramadan, as it was ordered by Allah for the people before you. And if we think about it, we realize that there is a reason, because he says in the same sentence, so that you can attain a taqwa. And a taqwa, as we've mentioned many times in our programs, is to have God consciousness, to be aware. Allah's watching you. But there's something else too. Be aware that He's the one who gave you life. He gave you breath. He gave you the ability to eat and to drink. And He gave you the desire to eat and drink. And here He's telling you, overcome that desire for a bigger thing. Choose to abstain. You've got the power within yourself that you'll exist. You won't die. Just leave off fasting and eating for these hours during these certain days every year. There are exceptions of those who are unable to, and Allah provides for that in the very next verse about the travelers and about the people that are sick. But we want to focus now on this. If you're able to, physically able to do so, and you understand what Islam is about and you want to be a Muslim, then put it into focus and realize this is why you're fasting, so that you appreciate when you can eat and drink, you appreciate what the good Lord has given you. You also appreciate, and this is very closely related with it, the condition of those people who are unable. They don't have the resources. They don't have the ability to eat or drink simply because it's not available to them. And this makes you more in tune with those folks who are poor or impoverished. They don't have any food to eat. They don't have anything to drink. I spent some time in a country in Mandera. And when I was there, I saw so many people suffering from the lack of water. Not just a little lack, a huge lack of water. And we began to appreciate those people and what they were going through. We were not there in the month of Ramadan, but strangely enough, the people brought up the subject and told us, you know what? They said, you know what? In Ramadan, we don't even have enough water to break our fast. Never mind food, like we like to break our fast maybe with dates or something like this, and water, then we pray, and then we eat a nice big meal. They were not concerned about the meal. They weren't concerned about what kind of drinks they would have, whether it be mango or guava or tea or coffee. They were concerned that they didn't have water, not even the most basic necessity of life. So how about when you're fasting and you can think about how you feel and realize these people feel this every day, every day. So what that does, that makes us more conscious of the suffering of others, and then this helps us to hopefully give, donate, and be more charitable. Also, a reason for this fasting for us is to become more aware of our brothers and sisters in humanity and in Islam. That when we break our fast, that we're so thankful for that, that I hope that we would all do this, to pray and ask God to feed all of those people. We thank God for feeding us, for giving us to drink, and we thank Him so much for providing for us. But at the same time, we should be asking Him to feed and clothe and give to drink these other people. If we did that, then we brought our fasting in focus as well. And that's what it's all about. Bring it together so you can understand why you're doing what you do. Because just doing something out of habit, this is not enough. Doing it for these just reasons that you see your folks are doing it and other people are doing it, oh, we do it every year, this is not enough. It should be that you understand that you're giving up something by choice. You're doing that for a reason. You've been ordered to do that by God, so that when you do get a chance to eat or drink, you become very appreciative, thankful, and you begin asking Him, oh, Allah, feed those that need to be fed and give them to drink the same. That, I think, brings this into focus now when we're talking about all the other religions, the way they look at it and how we look at it. So, till the next time for Ramadan in Focus, I'm Yusuf Estes. Peace. Assalamu alaikum.